is not a god!
We frequently view the past from our current perspective, identifying elements from past eras as strange, unsettling, or even shocking. Nevertheless, it's important to keep in mind that what appears unusual to us today was often regarded as customary within the historical context. This exploration delves into 15 such practices and concepts, providing a vivid portrayal of the extent to which societal norms and comprehension have transformed. Number 15. Revolutionizing medicine. In medical history, the past can sometimes appear as a bizarre carnival of treatments, an era when conventional wisdom led humanity down some truly peculiar paths. Bloodletting, for instance, was once hailed as a treatment for infections and various afflictions. Can you imagine a world where a doctor would prescribe a draining life force to cure a fever? It sounds like an absurd fiction, yet it persisted as common practice right up until the 1940s. Equally bewildering is the fact that mercury, a substance we now equate with poison, was once employed to combat syphilis. Yes, you read that correctly. People willingly ingested this toxic element in the misguided hope of curing a venereal disease. The consequences were dire, to say the least. But let's not stop there. Even the pursuit of beauty wasn't spared from the bizarre. Beauty treatments of the past often bordered on self-inflicted harm, employing hazardous concoctions that could boggle the modern mind. Then came a game changer. In 1928, the brilliant Dr. Alexander Fleming stumbled upon a remarkable substance, penicillin. This miraculous discovery would alter the course of medicine forever. However, it wasn't until 2 decades later that this life-saving antibiotic would be successfully administered to a patient, marking the dawn of a new era in medical treatment. These astonishing tales from the medical archives remind us of the profound leaps humanity has made in healthcare, where the remedies of yesterday have given way to the scientific marvels of today. Number 14. Evolving silhouettes. The fascinating tale of girdles in 1916. In the dazzling world of fashion history, a captivating chapter unfolded in 1916 when the Stanford Mail Order Company of New York introduced girdles tailored for misses and small women. If the term girdle leaves you scratching your head, don't worry, you're not alone. These sleek undergarments have long faded from modern fashion's spotlight, making room for the beloved Spanx we know today. A world where corsets reigned supreme, shaping women's bodies into fashionable hourglasses. However, the early 19th century heralded a transformative era as girdles took center stage, offering a more comfortable alternative. These garments may not have clung as tightly as their corset predecessors, but they were no less influential in molding feminine curves. Imagine slipping into a girdle in 1916. It gently embraced your form, creating a more modest, though still alluring, silhouette. Gone were the days of extreme constriction, replaced by a sense of liberation and style. It was a shift that symbolized the changing attitudes towards women's fashion and their evolving roles in society. Fast forward to today, and girdles have become relics of a bygone era, their place usurped by the modern magic of Spanx. While girdles and corsets have retreated into the depths of history, they remain crucial touchpoints in the ever-evolving narrative of fashion. These timeless pieces remind us of the dynamic relationship between clothing and culture, forever shaping the way we perceive and celebrate the beauty of the female form. Number 13. Parcel Post. The unconventional child delivery service. In the early 20th century, the introduction of the post office parcel post revolutionized the way Americans accessed goods and services. It was a game changer that opened up new possibilities for millions of people. However, amidst this groundbreaking innovation, there emerged a bizarre and surprising phenomenon: parents attempting to send their children through the mail. Just weeks after Parcel Post's launch in January 1913, an Ohio couple captured the nation's attention when they shipped their 8-month-old baby, James, to his grandmother, who lived just a stone's throw away. Baby James, weighing in at just under the 11-pound limit imposed on parcels, made this peculiar journey for a mere 15 cents, a price tag more economical than a train ticket. This eyebrow-raising story quickly became headline news. In the wake of baby James's unusual voyage, Similar tales began surfacing in rural areas. Children were being sent as if they were mail, complete with postage stamps affixed to their clothing. These anecdotes added a whimsical and astonishing twist to the Parcel Post's impact. It's truly remarkable to reflect on how an everyday service we now take for granted, like sending and receiving parcels, had such a profound impact on the lives of Americans at the turn of the 20th century. The quirky stories of children being mailed serve as a captivating reminder of the ingenuity and unintended consequences that can accompany innovation. Number 12. Elevated infant lounging, the quirky tale of baby cages. In the whimsical world of child-rearing innovations, the 1930s brought us a peculiar sight: babies suspended in cages, akin to cozy avian retreats outside apartment windows. While it may sound like an eccentric idea from a bygone era, these dangling baby cages trace their roots back to Dr. Luther Emmett's 1884 book, The Care and Feeding of Children. Dr. Emmett, a pioneer in child-rearing advice, ardently championed the notion that infants required fresh air to invigorate and cleanse their bloodstream. To facilitate this, he endorsed the concept of babies being aired regularly. However, this seemingly sensible advice posed a challenge for urban mothers who lacked the luxury of a garden or terrace. Enter the baby cage, a quirky invention that captured the zeitgeist of its time. In London and across the United States, these contraptions resembling miniature chicken coops began to grace apartment windows, providing infants with a unique vantage point to observe the world. Picture it: a baby nestled in a secure, suspended sanctuary, swaying gently in the breeze, much like a baby bird in its nest. The allure of baby cages, however, dwindled by the late 1940s, possibly due to mounting safety concerns. These peculiar contraptions remain a fascinating chapter in the history of child-rearing, a testament to the creative solutions parents have devised throughout the ages to ensure their children's well-being and happiness. Number 11. Atomic Adventure, the risky playground of 1950s. In the colorful era of the 1950s, youngsters were granted access to what might be considered the most perilous plaything of all time. Pioneering the atomic age, the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab, available exclusively between 1951 and 1952 with a hefty $50 price tag, brought the mysteries of nuclear science into the hands of children. This remarkable kit contained a treasure trove of radioactive wonders, including 4 distinct types of uranium ore, a Geiger counter, a miniature cloud chamber, an electroscope, a spinthariscope, and an engaging educational comic book titled Learn How Dagwood Splits the Atom. What sets this kit apart is its authenticity. Every element within was genuine, offering kids the chance to embark on their scientific journeys and unlock the enigmatic secrets of radioactive materials within the comfort of their homes. Astonishingly, the kit even included a government manual, promising young scientists the opportunity to unearth new uranium sources and claim a substantial $10,000 reward from the United States government. Today, the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab stands as a highly coveted collector's item, fetching prices more than 100 times its original cost. It serves as a nostalgic relic, harkening back to a time when curiosity knew no bounds, and the boundaries of experimentation were pushed to their limits. Though the risks associated with such a play kit are evident in hindsight, it undeniably encapsulates an era of fearless exploration, where the promise of discovery outweighed the potential dangers. Number 10. The Lost Art of Employing Hermits. In a world where garden decor today often includes quirky gnomes or whimsical sculptures, picture this. In the 80th century, the ultimate status symbol for wealthy estate owners was not a piece of art, but rather a live-in, bona fide hermit dwelling in their garden. Yes, you read that right. Hermits for hire were all the rage. These unique individuals would take up residence in rustic shacks, huts, or even caves purpose-built within lavish gardens, primarily in England, Scotland, and Ireland. However bizarre it may seem, this was a widespread custom of its time. Imagine wandering through a splendid garden and stumbling upon a hermit in a druid's attire, tending to his solitary existence. Gordon Campbell, a distinguished professor of Renaissance studies at the University of Leicester, reveals that these hermits were typically former agricultural laborers who embraced a mystical role for a paycheck. Their purpose was not only to add an element of enigma to the landscape, but also to engage in philosophical conversations with garden visitors. Yet as time marched on, this peculiar practice began to fade into obscurity. By the close of the 18th century, the ornamental hermit had become a relic of a bygone era, overshadowed by changing tastes and societal shifts. Today, this eccentric tradition serves as a captivating window into the peculiar customs of yesteryears, reminding us that gardens have not always been just about plants and flowers, but also about the curious characters who dwelled within them. Number 9. The surprising evolution of costume festivities. Long before Halloween became the undisputed costume extravaganza we know today, a quirky and colorful tradition thrived. Thanksgiving masquerading. Yes, you read that right. People once decked themselves in costumes, flooded the bustling city streets with revelry, and celebrated with costume parties, all in the name of Thanksgiving. In 1897, the fervor for this unique tradition reached such heights that the LA Times reported Thanksgiving as the busiest time of the year for manufacturers of and dealers in masks and false faces. Imagine that. Costumed individuals, predominantly kids, would energetically parade through their neighborhoods, eagerly asking adults for anything for Thanksgiving. In response, benevolent adults would bestow upon them candy and treats, creating a sugary prelude to Halloween. However, not everyone was thrilled by this festive spectacle. New York's school superintendent, seemingly cut from the same cloth as those who later devised anti-fun laws, grumbled that the tradition appeared designed mainly to annoy adults and was out of sync with the spirit of modernity. But here's the twist. This Thanksgiving tradition still lingers, albeit in a transformed state. Nowadays, you're more likely to encounter elaborate Thanksgiving costumes during the iconic Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Yet the irresistible allure of candy lingered in the hearts of children. By the 1930s, the practice of going door to door in pursuit of sweet treasures transitioned into a Halloween staple, now known by the famous phrase, trick or treat. Number 8. The surprising history of boys in dresses. In our world today, the colors pink and blue are imbued with an almost sacred significance, dictating the wardrobes of newborns based on their gender. Yet whether it's right or wrong, this phenomenon wasn't always the norm. Surprisingly, a century ago, the gendered color palette we know today mattered far less, even during a time when society appeared more rigid than ever. A fascinating aspect of this bygone era was the trend of young boys donning dresses, sometimes well into their 8th year. To modern sensibilities, this may seem perplexing, if not absurd. Why, you might wonder, did parents willingly subject their sons to such unconventional attire? Delving into the past, we discover that, at the time, no one viewed this practice as peculiar. It served a practical purpose that, surprisingly, revolved around the complexities of potty training. In an age when fastenings on men's breeches and trousers resembled baffling puzzles, it was simply easier for children to wear dresses. The roots of this tradition reach back even further, finding sense in the Renaissance period, where men's clothing was notoriously intricate, making it unsuitable for young children. Thus, dressing young boys in garments traditionally associated with girls became a logical choice. As we move closer to the late 20th century, the reasons behind this practice shift. By then, people continued to dress baby boys in gowns mainly because it was the established norm. World War I marked the beginning of the decline of this tradition, yet it endured for several more decades. However, photographic evidence of this practice is scarce, possibly because those who had once worn dresses as infants preferred to consign such images to the flames when no one was watching. The historical journey from boys in dresses to today's color-coded baby attire is a testament to the ever-changing norms of our society. Number 7. From horror to heritage. The transformation of insane asylums. In history, insane asylums were once grim fortresses shrouded in despair, where the mentally afflicted languished in squalor and misery. These foreboding structures, haunted by their past, stand as eerie testaments to a bygone era. Yet, amid their haunting shadows, there is an unexpected twist, a resurgence of interest that has transformed these dilapidated relics into sought-after destinations for photographers and curious souls alike. The United States, in its pursuit of progress, ceased confining individuals to insane asylums during a time when orphanages also fell out of favor. This was indeed a step forward, but the historical treatment of the mentally ill is a stark reminder of the past's unforgiving judgments. Back in the early 20th century, a prevailing notion painted the mentally ill as universally perilous, casting them into the grim embrace of the insane asylum. In some cases, women, trapped in oppressive marriages, found themselves labeled as insane, merely for daring to question their husband's authority, leading them to endure deplorable conditions as an alternative to divorce. Yet, not every inhabitant of these grim institutions fits this narrative. Among the forlorn, there were genuinely afflicted individuals who suffered within those walls. Regrettably, these asylums were more akin to cruel dungeons than centers for rehabilitation and care. Fortunately, the tide began to turn with the advent of psychotherapy and a growing realization that confining the mentally ill in such dire conditions was inhumane. Today, the eerie relics of insane asylums serve as a poignant reminder of our evolving attitudes toward mental health. These once feared structures now symbolize not only our progress, but also our capacity for empathy and reform. Number 6. Guns and school clubs. A shocking throwback. Back in the swinging 60s, guns and young men were a duo as inseparable as peanut butter and jelly, or in a more somber twist, as young girls and their eating disorders. It's a jaw-dropping fact that public high schools of that era often boasted shooting clubs, and believe it or not, some even had gun ranges right on campus. Picture this. Kids could casually stroll into school packing heat because their after-school shooting practices were all part of the norm. Of course, let's not forget the quirky rule, handing over those firearms to homeroom teachers, just to ensure nobody had any wild ideas during a political science lecture. Safety first, they said. But here's the kicker. New York City teenagers would nonchalantly ride the subway with their rifles in tow. Can you even begin to fathom such a scenario today? Teens, rifles on their backs, commuting alongside everyday passengers. We all know that teenagers don't exactly shine for their level-headedness, whether in the face of crisis or while discussing the intricacies of Susie's vocal tone. It sounds like a recipe for disaster, a ticking time bomb waiting for a mass shooting. So, when did these school gun clubs finally start fading into oblivion? Well, the shocking truth is they kind of didn't. Some schools still harbor after-school gun clubs, but thankfully, most modern school administrators have wisened up to the sheer absurdity of allowing armed teens to roam freely on campus. Now it's time for our subscribers pick. These two pictures have divided the online community due to their controversial nature. The first one depicts an entire classroom full of topless women. Some people think this may have been a protest, such as the modern-day Free the Nipple movement, while others have proposed that this may have been an unreasonable thing these women were forced to do. In the second picture, we can see one of the bizarre and dehumanizing practices from back when slavery was legal and widely accepted. The poor slave children were stripped of their dignity and rights. They were treated like objects, and their masters ensured that by putting them in shackles. Such photographs from the past makes us realize how cruel and unrelenting the world used to be for the minorities and the less privileged back in the day. Why did it take us so long to start treating them better? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Number 5. Revolutionizing women's healthcare. In the not-so-distant past of the early 20th century, the state of healthcare was far from the pleasant experience we expect today. Surprisingly, this was a time when products like narcotics and narcotics were readily available over the counter, making you wonder what kind of healthcare system allowed such substances to be so accessible. For women, however, the situation was even bleaker. The challenges they faced in entering the medical field were daunting, to say the least. Yet it doesn't end there. Women were not only excluded from medical research for an astonishingly long time, It was only as recently as 2016 regulations finally made it mandatory to include females in medical research trials. The consequences of this exclusion were nothing short of baffling diagnoses and treatments for women seeking medical care. Imagine a world where a popular 1907 pregnancy guide advised doctors to perform rather unusual procedures on pregnant women, such as trimming genital hair with scissors, shaving, and disinfecting with bichloride solution. Astonishingly, they even recommended using acid for intimate hygiene. Equally bewildering, another prominent book from the same year suggested a bizarre theory that connected the womb directly to the clitoris, and claimed that birth pains could be alleviated by applying finger pressure to the area. Perhaps one of the most shocking historical anecdotes was the treatment of female hysteria, which seemed to encompass any behavior that men found disagreeable. Doctors purportedly administered pelvic massages to patients until they experienced orgasm as a treatment for this vague condition. However, as the years passed, a visionary innovator emerged on the scene, introducing the world to an electromechanical treatment that laid the foundation for the adult toys we are familiar with today. This journey through the history of women's healthcare history highlights the immense progress made in recent years. From bizarre treatments and misguided theories to empowering advancements, the transformation is nothing short of revolutionary. Number 4. The youth of yesteryears, laborers in miniature. In the past, a newborn baby was often seen as a dual-purpose bundle of potential, part pint-sized laborer and part investment for the twilight years. These tiny tots were thrust into the world of toil from the very outset, their tender hands set to work on farms, within the confines of households, or even amidst bustling businesses. As we fast forward to the dawning of the 20th century, with an evolving economy and the relentless march of urbanization, children found themselves donning many hats in a kaleidoscope of industries and trades. The meticulous record keepers at the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics bear witness to this remarkable transformation. Back in the day, beyond the customary chores in the agrarian realm, rural juveniles were thrust into resource extraction endeavors, including the gritty world of mining, coal cracking, and hauling. Along coastal settlements, their tiny hands dabbled in fishing, shore maintenance, oyster shucking, or the precision art of canning. In every nook and cranny, be it a sprawling metropolis or a quaint town, children were pressed into service by mills and factories, churning out an astonishing array of products, from delicate glassware to sumptuous textiles, from essential kitchenware to the humble cigar. In bustling urban centers, hordes of youthful souls darted through streets and alleys, serving as couriers, chauffeurs, custodians, news hawkers, and so much more. These industrious youngsters were an indispensable cog in the machinery of American commerce. Yet, paradoxically, the fruits of their labor seldom graced their palms. The Bureau of Labor Statistics succinctly captured the prevailing sentiment. Society regarded them as little more than supplementary income generators for their parents. Number 3. Eternal Memories, Victorian-era post-mortem photography unveiled. Amid the Victorian era, a time colored by its peculiarities, one unsettling tradition stood out: post-mortem photography, the art of capturing the departed. While today it may send shivers down your spine, in that era it was perfectly ordinary. Far from being eerie, these images were intended as cherished mementos of dearly departed loved ones. Intriguingly, photographers of the time endeavored to defy death's grasp, attempting to breathe life into their subjects through the lens. They employed an array of techniques to infuse vitality into their lifeless subjects. One of the most fascinating approaches was portraying the deceased with their cherished possessions. Imagine a man seated regally with his loyal dogs or a young girl encircled by her beloved toys. These snapshots allowed the grieving families to remember their loved ones in a more vibrant light, preserving their essence. In a poignant effort, photographers sometimes portrayed the departed as peacefully slumbering, a serene illusion crafted to soften the harsh reality of death. It is in these delicate compositions that the artistry of the era truly shines through. Yet, the process was not without its secrets. The Victorian era, a time of paradoxes and peculiarities, captured not only the morbid, but also the deeply sentimental. Post-mortem photography, with its eerie charm, continues to fascinate us, reminding us that even in the face of death, there is a desire to preserve the essence of those we hold dear. Number 2. Narcotics' seductive deception. In pharmaceutical history, a tale unfolds that's nothing short of a captivating paradox. It's the story of narcotics, a substance conceived with the noble intention of providing a safer alternative to morphine, only to reveal itself as an even more potent and insidious force. This narrative takes us on a journey through time, tracing the inception, misdirection, and tragic consequences of this deceptive creation. In the late 19th century, as medical science sought to alleviate human suffering, the quest for a painkiller less potent and less addictive than morphine led to the development of narcotics. At first, it seemed like a promising solution, a remedy that could offer relief without the same risks of addiction. Little did anyone know that this alluring siren was poised to affect countless lives. With the discovery of narcotics' potency, it was introduced into the realm of medicine. Doctors prescribed it to soothe coughs, alleviate back pain, and provide respite to those plagued by insomnia. This seemingly miraculous substance appeared to be a godsend, a shining beacon of hope for patients and physicians alike. However, the serpent lay hidden beneath the rosebush. Between 1898 and 1910, a dark cloud of deception swept across the medical landscape. Cunningly marketed as a non-addictive substitute for morphine, the narcotics' siren song reached the ears of a vulnerable populace. People flocked to it, believing they had found the answer to their ailments without the shackles of addiction. Little did they know that they were stepping into a treacherous abyss. As the cough syrups laced with narcotics gained popularity, so did the rates of addiction among its users. What was once hailed as a miracle cure quickly revealed its true colors. The addiction rates soared to unprecedented levels, leaving a trail of broken lives and shattered dreams in its wake. Families were torn apart, communities ravaged, and individuals enslaved by a substance that had promised liberation. The rise of narcotics addiction during this period serves as a stark reminder of the perils of misplaced trust and misguided intentions. Narcotics, the very substance created to heal, became a venomous serpent, poisoning the lives of those it touched. It's a cautionary tale of the allure of quick solutions and the importance of rigorous research before unleashing any substance into the medical arena. In hindsight, we see that narcotics' seductive deception was a product of its time, a time when the mysteries of pharmacology were still being unraveled, and the true nature of substances remained veiled. Today, we must remember this dark chapter in our history as a warning against complacency and the blind pursuit of relief. It's a testament to the enduring need for responsible research, ethical medical practice, and vigilant oversight. Number 1. The bizarre history of tapeworm diets. In the pursuit of the perfect figure, humans have resorted to some truly peculiar methods over the years. One of the most bizarre weight loss trends emerged during the Victorian era, when people embraced a truly unconventional solution: tapeworms. Yes, you read that right. The same creepy crawlies that usually make us cringe were once seen as a quick fix for shedding pounds. The concept was astonishingly simple. A person would willingly ingest a tapeworm egg. Once inside their intestines, the tapeworm would hatch and begin feasting on whatever the host consumed. This, it was believed, allowed individuals to slim down without having to cut back on their food intake. While today we know that tapeworms are far from a magic weight loss solution and can be extremely hazardous, this bizarre practice still lingers in the shadows of modern society. The Victorian era, with its rigid standards of beauty and social expectations, often pushed individuals to extreme measures to achieve the desired silhouette. In a time when corsets were tightly laced and fainting couches were all the rage, tapeworms became just another eccentric trend for those willing to do anything to conform to society's expectations. Imagine a society where tapeworm capsules were sold like diet pills, promising instant results without the hassle of exercise or dietary restrictions. These miracle capsules contained tapeworm eggs, and people would readily pop them in pursuit of their dream figure. The belief was that the tapeworm would take up residence in the intestines and become a voracious eater, consuming calories at an alarming rate. As outrageous as it may sound, this practice persisted into the early 20th century. There were even advertisements in newspapers and magazines promoting tapeworm pills as a simple and effective solution for weight loss. The allure of effortless slimming was too tempting for some to resist. However, reality soon caught up with the tapeworm dieters. Medical professionals began to sound the alarm about the dangers lurking within this peculiar weight loss strategy. Tapeworms can cause a range of health problems, including malnutrition, anemia, and intestinal blockages. In severe cases, they can even lead to death. By the mid-20th century, tapeworm diets had largely faded into obscurity thanks to increased awareness of their risks and the introduction of more reliable weight loss methods. Yet shockingly, this practice has not been entirely eradicated. Some individuals, driven by desperation or a misguided belief in the power of tapeworms, still seek out these parasites as a means to shed pounds. We hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you in the next one.